reflections that lie there in that old curiosity shop.
Okay, folks. Now, I want you to take a look at this hot mess on my kitchen counter. And some of you are already saying, is that man crazy? You know, I paid $10 for this mess. And it was in a shoebox, as you see it right there. Now, I examined it carefully at the flea market to make sure all the parts were there. And everything was there except the electric cord, which is not a big deal. But on an electric toaster as old as this one, it would have been nice. However, we take them as they survive. I am not going to show you the restoration process on this. I've actually already started cleaning a little bit of it. But if you stay tuned to the end of this video, you'll see what does this heap of steel turn into. You're going to see the end result of my hard labor. But let's zoom in and take a look. Here's the body of the toaster itself, still standing on one little leg. Here's the base, which I've taken off. The rack, the wire rack on which you put the toast to keep it from hitting the heating coils over here. There's an interesting little piece that attaches to the top, which heats up as well, and you could put a piece of bread or anything on top of that to keep it warm. That's the guard for the top. We've got all the screws here, the ebonized wooden handles, and four interesting little legs. Now I want you to look at these little legs here. This leg I have begun to restore, and we'll put this in the center and let you see here the difference between the old corroded legs, or feet I guess. This one's missing its little wooden black foot, which I'm going to have to replicate somehow, you can see. Let me hold these up and show you side by side. The one that I've worked on a little bit and the original. Come on now. Now, you know, when I do restoration, I'm not overly zealous about it. I don't want it to look brand new. I'm not going to take a stiff wire brush to this and completely take all the oxidation and age out of the little nooks and crannies there, but I want it cleaned and polished and usable. So I go pretty slowly, and I'm very conservative with my cleaning. We don't want to over clean. This is just old and cruddy and years of dirt and surface rust. And no one would want to actually use the toaster or display it. Well, I guess somebody would, but not me. And then this is the one that's cleaned up. Okay, so I'm going to keep working on it, but I will show you on this bottom plate. Now, this is the bottom of the toaster, which won't be seen, but I want to show you why I was so excited about this toaster. Let's look closely at the date. Let me focus in. Well, see, this is made here in here in the USA, but in the city of Chicago. And look at the patent dates. We've got patent dates of October 31st, 1911, and September 10th. That's 1912. Now, that doesn't mean that this toaster dates to September the 10th, 1912. That's the last registered patent date. So we know that it is at least as old. No, I take that back. It's at most as old as the year 1912. That's right, the year the Titanic sank was the last patent issued on this particular toaster, on this model anyway. So without really doing any more research on it, I'm going to be able to obviously date this to pre-1920s, which is really exciting to find one that early. And I'm not a toaster collector or an expert at all. I just saw this and said, it's got good bones. It is worthy of restoration. And you can see it is a hot mess, but all of that oxidation and corrosion and whatnot that's on this nickel plate, that's going to come right up And I think we're going to have a beautiful functioning toaster. Okay, so right now all I've used are a couple of screwdrivers. Well, I haven't had to use the screwdrivers yet because it was already apart, but I will be putting it back together again, obviously. And I'm cleaning with more of a stiff steel wool. This might be 1/0 or 2/0, and then I'll move to a 000 and then a 4/0 as I get down to polishing it up. And then we'll take a look at the coil, make sure we're in good shape. I have a collection of old original electric cords for this type of toaster. This one is from the 1920s, so it dates to close to the age of this, and this is going to work just fine. So stay tuned to the end of the video and you'll see the final result. I'm excited. I also like toast. Okay, what I want to show you now is, and I told you this wasn't going to be a major production in terms of a do-it-yourself video or restoration video, but I want to show you my progress. So here are the two sides of the toaster that support the rack and the heating element. This one is completely unrestored. That's exactly how it has come off of the toaster. Now we can see underneath where it was hidden by another piece how beautiful and shiny the nickel plating was when it was new. Yeah, you can almost see me in it. Okay? And then we see just how corroded it's become over the years. Here's the opposite side that I have cleaned and polished. And with that piece right there, I started out using, this is the coarse steel wool. About as coarse, not quite as coarse as it gets, but it's pretty coarse. And we can see the difference, okay? The difference is pretty good. I still want to try to bring this up a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now, I don't quite necessarily want to get back, to that level of shininess, which dates all the way back, again, to 1912, 13, 14. So now I'm going to go to a finer steel wool. And when I say 000, this is actually 4/0 steel wool. This is the finest grade commercial steel wool. And you can get this anywhere, at any hardware store, and so forth. So 4/0 is very fine, fine steel wool. It will be the polishing level, and I'm going to use the 4/0 steel wool and bring this up even a little bit more. And then back here, I've got one stubborn leg that just did not want to. There's always one. When you have 4 screws to pull out, there's always one that will not come out. And that one is being very stubborn. So I'm going to be conservative and give it a shot of WD-40. So I'm letting that soak. And the screw is under there. It's tiny. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but it's there. Not that hole, but there's a screw behind it. See it? Okay, and I'm going to allow that WD-40 to work its way in and loosen that up so that I don't strip that screw. We can see that the heating element, there's nothing broken. We have continuity all the way through, so we should be in good shape. Okay, and I did a little more cleaning on this leg. I think I'm just about finished. I don't really want to polish it up any more than that. I think I'm satisfied with this look. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But anyway, it's a slow process, and I'll keep you posted. I'll come back and show you what this side piece looks like after I polish it up a little bit more with the 4/0 steel wool. Okay, now, what you see here is all of the parts cleaned. Completely cleaned, except I've got one steel leg. Aren't these legs wonderful? This reminds me of the the ball and claw foot piano stools and china closets and everything that was so popular in the late Victorian era, really up through 1910, 1915, and of course after the war, that claw foot on everything really disappeared. Well, it doesn't totally disappear, but boy, this harkens back to an old-fashioned style, the claw foot. on everything. But anyway, there it is. It's all been cleaned and polished with the different grits of steel wool. And the only thing I did not clean were the terminals. Now I'll just lightly go over this to get any corrosion off of it so we have good electrical contact. But that's the only thing I didn't take this apart. The old mica insulators are on there. We're going to leave that just like that. Now back here, the heating element, this is where we have to be very gentle, because we don't want to break this. If we break that, we're shot. We're done. We'd have to recoil the whole thing, and I don't want to do that. These are the pieces of insulation, which is actually, it's almost like a clay pipe. I honestly don't know what this is made, what material this is. I think it's some type of clay, like a pipe. And of course, today the insulation would be what we see on a modern electrical cord. And these run on the underside of the heating element to keep you from burnt, to keep you from getting shocked, and from the bottom plate from heating up. All right, so I'm going to clean that very last leg, put it all together, whip out a piece of bread, and plug this baby in and see what happens, okay? Hold your breath. It's not going to be that dramatic. Okay, I'm breaking in here because I've got something else I want to tell you. Now, you might say, okay, Scott, you're cleaning that all up, and you're buffing with these different pieces of steel wool. So the coarse, and then the 4/0 triple-0, which is much finer. First of all, why aren't you wearing gloves? Yes, I know. This is nasty stuff. If you get a splinter of that in your fingers, it is miserable. It has happened to me before, and I should have gloves on, but I don't. All right, we've said that. I'm telling you, wear gloves. Secondly, why don't I just get a brush with a handle on it? A metal scouring type of brush. Yes, I've got some, but there's a reason why I'm not using it. You see, there is a certain amount of corrosion, rust, oxidation, crud, buildup, whatever you want to call it, on the surface of these legs. Okay? When I'm buffing, especially with the 4/0 steel wool, that corrosion is giving me resistance as I'm buffing it. Okay? That transfers to my hands. I can feel it. So, as I'm cleaning and scrubbing, I'm actually getting a sense of how much of the surface I'm removing, how much of rust and dirt and grime am I removing, as opposed to stripping all the original patina off and making it look so new that then I find it unattractive. I can't feel that if I'm holding on to a brush with a wooden handle, you see? But as I'm scrubbing with the steel wool, again, after a few seconds and a certain amount of pressure, I can feel the grime coming off and the resistance changes, and I want to do that uniformly on all of the legs so I get a very even look. I can't achieve that type of finish using a brush with a wooden handle or a plastic handle or any type of handle you can think of. So that's the reason why it's just all done by hand. It takes about maybe 15 minutes per foot. So we've got 1 full hour just to clean 4 of these feet. Okay? Okay, so I just wanted to talk about that for a second, and now I'm going to get back to it.
I love. My baby likes bacon, and that's what I'm making while I'm cooking breakfast for the one I love. Our life has been so nice and chummy right from the start. When I won her tummy, I won her heart. My baby is happy, no wonder I'm happy while I'm cooking breakfast for the one I love.